Right, hi, this is Adam from A Model of Control at Stay Infest, and we're here with Bootblacks. Hi, folks.
Hello.
In two different locations. I'm presuming all still in New York at the moment.
Yep. Yes.
Are you actually a Brooklyn band? Is that right?
Yep.
Am I going to get this wrong?
Yeah, we are. I mean, no, I'm the only one living in Brooklyn currently, but the band was founded there, so I would say it's like, the origin story. It's birth. Allie gave birth to it, Brooklyn.
That's where our rehearsal headquarters is as well. So.
Yeah.
So you've been around for what, about a decade now, I think?
Yep. Oh boy. Yeah.
Because your origin story on your website's kind of interesting. And what the hell happened there that you ended up working with one of the bad seeds early on?
That had to do with just sort of, luck at the time. So I think Allie and I were in another band actually when we were both living together in San Francisco. That new New York-based band, the Belmer Dolls, and they knew Jim Sclavunos. So it was just through, I guess this music scene we've been in for so long that it was just, someone knew somebody, and that's how we got there. So, yeah.
And how do you feel? Because obviously your current sound is very slick. There's a kind of an electronic undercurrent to what you're doing with the kind of post-punk sound now. Have you evolved to that sound from what you were doing early on? I take it wasn't like that from the start.
No, not at all. I mean, the early stuff was, I would say, more straight post-punk. I mean, like you said, we've been doing it for a decade now, so we've had lots of different ideas about what the band is or could be over that time. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, in weird ways, when I think of the band in the early days, it's barely the same band, but I guess that's just kind of, if you were to watch the whole thing, it's just us evolving as artists over time. Mm-hmm. And for better or worse. So
and you've absolutely for better, I think. I mean, you've got a new album out, Thin Skies, at the turn of September, October, is that right?
Yeah, October 9th.
Yeah, so how's recording that been? Was that all done before lockdown happened, or?
Yeah, it was done last year. Actually in spring of last year. And then it was sort of
on it for a bit there. And it planned on, touring and supporting it and all that, and then everything got halted. So we had to rethink things, and here we are. Stay Infest.
Yeah, and I mean, in a weird way, I think it's kind of cool that we had something to put out during this time, so we can, still have some kind of music to give people, not being able to do it on tour. I think it's kind of it's a bit of a silver lining, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's something as well
great so far.
Oh, sorry, go on.
The response has been great so far. We put out a few singles already, and we didn't know what to expect. Everybody is it's a strange time, so it was kind of a gamble in our eyes to put out an album that we couldn't support on the road. And but everybody has been really, really kind about it and sharing everything constantly. And we couldn't have asked for any, well, except for being on a stage somewhere, we couldn't have asked.
Yeah, we could ask for more. Yeah.
What's your attitude to playing live? Is it do you think of yourselves first and foremost as a live band?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
In
fact, before times, I would say 90% of our fan base we've built on the road. Like, playing shows is our strength. And I think until this album, we've kind of suffered with our recorded material where people, they would listen to it and go, yeah, it's good. But then they'd come see us live and they go, oh, okay. And that's where we would really grab people. And I think, this is now with this new album, it's the first time that it seems like we're attracting new fans that haven't seen us yet. So it's pretty cool. It's a dichotomy that we're into.
It is a weird time. I mean, as someone who goes to a lot of gigs, I've not been to a show since March. Since everything locked down in London, which is the longest I think I've ever been without going to a show in 25 years.
Well, yeah, when we played live, I forgot how loud amplifiers were. It had been that long in my life that just to stand in front of an amplifier, I was like, holy God, we make so much noise. And, you know, like a live drum kit and all that stuff, it actually kind of blew me away about how your body physically takes in all that, you know, volume. So I'm 100% with you. I think as long as my life that I haven't seen any type of live music or performed live music for that matter.
I think it's going to hurt, and the first time we do it, and just to make sure that I don't go see, say, Swans first next. You know?
Yeah. That would be a huge mistake, or Boris, or something like that. Yeah. Be jumping that deep end.
Oh yeah. I mean, do you feel as a New York band nowadays that you're in a lineage in terms of the sound that you're doing? Because there's a very specific type of post-punk that came out of New York. That's very different to maybe the post-punk that, say, came out of the Manchester scene. Do you feel part of that and kind of responsible as kind of keepers of that flame?
I don't. I don't know. I'm always, I mean, I guess I feel responsible for being a band that's from the city, but for me personally, I'd just kind of, I'll take an influence from wherever it comes from. You know what I mean? I'm not overly concerned about that. But maybe that influence gets in there kind of secondhand, you know what I mean? And I'm not aware of it, but it's not a conscious thing anyways, at least for me.
I think maybe as far as the band from New York, I wouldn't say the influence is from sound. I'd say the influence is more from attitude and just the willingness to experiment, try something different, that sort of thing, which I feel like is true for a lot of, you know, the New York bands that have come out throughout history. Really. So I'd say that's where we get our influence from.
I think that's a good point, actually, because it's something I've noticed when I've been in American cities and going to see bands in America, that there's maybe more of a melting pot of styles and things bleed across more than maybe the kind of if you want it, the goth scene in the UK, whereas it's kind of maybe a little more insular, I think is fair to say. And those kind of outside influences, you know, you go to clubs of that different styles of music, for example, or kind of different, you know, and different cultures mix. You know, in London we get that, but the sound doesn't really bleed across like it does on American bands that we find.
Yeah, that's why I'd even have a hard time saying like what the people always ask us what the scene is like here, and I have a pretty hard time defining that. Really, I don't. You know what I mean? Like it seems like a lot of different stuff, and I don't know. It's hard for me to pick up on that, you know, honestly, like if there's a sort of definitive sound or something like that now, or especially, but yeah.
and in terms of like, obviously it's there's this weird distance from everything right now. You know, I mean, we're keeping, if you want, a scene going by doing live streams and DJing into the internet, which could mean that we suddenly found that something aimed at London people ended up with someone from Philadelphia chatting in the stream the other night, and it's kind of great because we've got a better reach. But also, it's, you know, it's kind of it's weird dilution of the community, because what's going to happen when we get back? We've all forgotten what it's like to socialize in public, right?
Yeah. I mean, it is cool because like we were kind of saying with the album too, like, you know, it's like different media is giving different reach, right? So I think we're reaching different people, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be weird to get in a room together again, and when people are going to feel comfortable with that. I don't know what that's going to be like, and I don't know. Or maybe this is it now. We're all at work at home bands now or something. I don't know.
I hope not.
Zoom bands.
Best of luck in getting the timing right on that.
Yeah.
Issues galore.
Yeah. And in terms of obviously you've presumably played festivals across North America. Have you? I must confess I haven't worked out yet whether you'd made it to Europe or not yet.
Oh yeah.
Sure. Yeah. This will be, I think, one of the only years in 10 years that we haven't gone to Europe. Going to Europe was a regular occurrence for us every year. No, we've never been to the UK.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like the United States, the UK is difficult to tour, and that's and I'm labeling that own criticism against the US as well. It's just mainland Europe, I think, has a really built-in infrastructure of venues, and yeah, it's easier to tour. So we've definitely done a lot of that, and people have been great there. That was kind of our bread and butter for a long time. I'd say most people kind of cared about us more in Europe for the majority of our career, but
Sure.
you know.
European tours are fun. And you do it, kind of European festivals are fun, and there's always a relaxed attitude to them. Maybe we don't get quite as drunk as I do when I go to North American festivals or UK festivals, but there's a there's a kind of, it can be a little aloof if sometimes there's a language barrier in some countries, but
that's an understatement. It's some of the most relaxed schedule sound checks we've ever had in our life. Like, what time do we play? Nighttime. Okay. All right. 4 a.m. Sure.
The universal language barrier breaker right here is.
Yeah, we've got a great time there.
Yeah, we did play. We played Wave Gothic Treffin a couple of years ago, so that was I guess our first European festival, like big festival.
Well, we were doing punk circuits for a long time. Basically, there's a whole kind of network of that stuff set up, especially in Germany. So.
Yeah, but that was a blast. That was actually where we kind of cemented our friendship with actors. We were playing the same venue back to back, and that was, we were just hanging out backstage the whole time and bullshitting and getting to know each other, and that was kind of where we hatched our plans to tour the States when we got back. So that was the beginning of a long, fruitful friendship that has led us here with this new record that Jason produced for us. So, yeah.
And hopefully you'll make it over to the UK at some point. Hopefully at Infest, of course, at some point soon. But Infest is a very different festival to many of the European ones. It's a little smaller, but it's also maybe a little friendlier. And everybody parties really hard. I'm too old for that shit now, but
all that sounds great.
You tell us when to show up and we'll be there.
It's in the works. It's in the works. We're already requesting it. So, but it's kind of weird this year because obviously everyone looks forward to this because it's such a kind of people that have been going for so long. This would have been my 20th this year going, and it's kind of strange that this is only the second time there's been a gap in the August schedule where Infest hasn't happened since it's been running, and everyone this week, everyone's getting their memories on Facebook going, oh man, this isn't fair. We're getting all these things that it was great fun last year. Let's go do it again. Nuts.
Jacek was sharing those same memories as well when we were discussing. I think this is his first interrupted one in quite some time. So he was saying there's a hardcore built-in fan base.
Oh, very much. Many of us have been going for a long, long time. I missed the first two, but I've not missed one since. And my wife started joining us about 15 years ago, and we, both my wife and I, helped Jacek for a few years on the Storming the Bass stall when he ran that. That was kind of fun. Recommending people to buy this. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things that I wouldn't miss for the world, and we're kind of being part of it by doing this has been kind of fun, and it's kind of giving a different insight, because obviously these are we're talking about bands like you that many of the people that are coming virtually this year won't have heard of yet.
Right.
So our plan is to say, hey, there's some cool bands out there, go check them out, and we're finding that also that the internet, providing music by the internet and streaming at the moment, people ask about this bands that you play in your in the chat feeds, going, hey, what's this? And in a club, when you're drunk and you hear it and you're like, oh, that's good, but then you forget about it the next morning. Whereas here, you get the link straight away.
Well, I mean, that's the benefit of this new media. Is I do think people are like, they're more appreciative and their attention's more focused. You know what I mean? Because I think in the old world, or whatever we want to call that, pre-COVID days, there's a lot of stuff for your attention and there's a lot of stuff going on. But now I think people are kind of, I don't know. I do feel a lot of love from people, just what music means to them. And I think that was harder to say in the past for whatever, because it was just something you could take for granted.
So what are you guys, as a kind of a final thing, what are you guys listening to at the moment? What's kind of floating your boat in terms of stuff you're checking out?
Not going to like this answer, but Steely Dan.
Fair enough.
I just it's not stressful to me, and I'm just trying to cruise through this year. So it's sort of like the Muzak jacuzzi to the summer soundtrack. I'm just trying to it's the Klonopin of music. So I'm just trying to make it through. So anything, I'm keeping it smooth this summer. Hence the beard and all other things going on here. So.
Well, I'll be the yin to that yang, and I'll just say it's 35 years since The Head on the Door, so I'm revisiting that classic. That's going to be on my rotation for the next few days at least. That was my introduction to The Cure, as I'm sure for a lot of people. However many years ago that was, 35. Yeah, so it never hurts to revisit the classics like The Cure and Steely Dan.
No, just strike that from the record. I'm just not gonna lie is the thing, so I'm just gonna be honest.
Hey, I like honesty. It's there's I'm at the moment it's kind of overwhelming because there's so much music coming out that I'm finding that I'll tag onto an album for a week and then I'll be moving on because something else has come out, and and it's kind of really difficult to go back and revisit stuff at the moment because there's just this torrent of music, and looking at the release schedules, that's the way it is all year. Right up till November.
Yeah, it's been a wealth of riches lately, it seems. And that's also kind of why we don't want to name drop anybody, because we'll immediately feel bad about not name dropping somebody else.
It's very true. That's why it's a very nervous question for me, because I'm like, oh gosh, who would I not want to forget? So I'll take it easy and just tell you about my Steely Dan instead.
But all those actors that go up to the stage like to thank everybody when they win an award. That's the stress that they go through. Like
Yeah, and I'll also be honest, seeing all this new music or friends of ours put out music is a bit sad for me too, because it does sometimes remind me of kind of what we're missing a little bit, so yeah.
Well, there you are, Infest goers. There's your recommendations this week: The Cure's Head on the Door and Steely Dan.
Really, don't listen to me.
Well, on that note, we'll remind our listeners that Thin Skies is out, your new album out on October 9th on Artifact, and hopefully we will see you when all this madness is over. We'll see you in the UK at some point, and we'll drop a few beers after a show at some point, hopefully at Infest in a coming year.
Absolutely.
Sounds wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you.